I-V-M.
Hey, so what do you think Jishnu, Dinkar and I have in common? Well, it's all that we are solid underachievers. But if you like the opposite, which is that of a superachiever, then you should definitely check out the Vishal Gondal Show, where Vishal, the host who I just named and is also in the title of the show, The Vishal Gondal Show, interviews superachievers like Ronnie Screwwala, a great superachiever, Amish Tripathi, another great superachiever. So, if you're an achiever and would like to become a superachiever, then you should probably check out The Vishal Gondal Show.
Hey, nerds, welcome to a very, very special episode of the Geek Fruit Podcast. I am Jishnu, and I'm joined today by Jaanam. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So, this is interesting. This is JJ on JJ. This is our episode about Jessica Jones Season 2. I've been really looking forward to this for a long time. But it turns out that none of the other guys wanted to watch the show. I'll admit, I also kind of struggled. I know that you saw both seasons
Together,
which is insane because, I mean, ever since we started doing Geek Fruit, every time particularly Marvel shows have come out on Netflix, we've always sort of had to take a big, deep breath because I've had experiences where when we did the Luke Cage episode, if you guys want to go back and hear that one, if you've seen Luke Cage Season 1, I ended up having to watch it, all 13 episoms in 36 hours.
Oh.
And I wouldn't recommend it to my worst enemy.
Why is that?
I mean, I'm a big fan. I like the MCU and I like the Netflix iteration of Marvel, and I like Luke Cage, but nothing is going to be good when you try to like cram it in. I was literally like pounding coffee at 5 a.m. just so that I could finish. I had to set an alarm to wake up in time to watch a show so that I could talk about it on the podcast. These are the things we do for you guys. We bleed through our eyeballs so that we can watch these shows.
How was the show about Luke Cage?
Luke Cage. You haven't seen it, right?
No.
So we need to get into this. So
Okay.
but first off, before we get any further, guys, this is a full spoilered episode. So full spoiler warning. We're going to get into details of Season 1 and Season 2. We waited a little bit. This is what we tell ourselves so we have a clearer conscience. We weren't lazy and didn't watch Season 2 in a timely fashion because we wanted to give you guys time to watch it as well because we assumed that nobody else was going to watch all 13 episodes in like 48 hours, like we so naively thought about 100 episodes ago when we did that for Luke Cage. But so, yeah, you haven't seen
No.
either. I really like Luke Cage. So you haven't seen anything else on the Netflix?
I started watching a bit of The Defenders after I completed Jessica Jones.
Okay, Season 1 or Season 2?
Of
Jessica Jones.
Of Season 2, yeah. I finished the whole show. And
okay, so you saw all of Season 1 and 2 of Jessica and then you went back to Defenders.
Yeah, so a lot of people told me, like, how are you watching Season 2
Yes,
without...
I have so many questions for you. But, go on.
As in, I could follow what's happening on Jessica Jones without having to refer to...
Sure, yeah. You can follow everything. That's never the problem.
Yeah, but I read somewhere there were a few references of the Defenders, but not too many.
No, that's something that people have been talking about. We'll get into that in just a second, that there weren't really that many, if any, really major references to the Defenders or anything else.
Which worked well for me because I haven't
exactly.
watched it.
So you didn't miss out. So go you. But no. So then tell me, why was this the only one you wanted to see? Why was Jessica Jones the only show you wanted to see off the crew?
Mainly because
there's some pretty obvious reasons.
Yeah,
but
like
I mean,
mainly because there was a female lead in it.
Yeah.
That was one. Also, it just seemed pretty interesting, and it was like I started watching the first season when Season 2 was already out.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought I'll binge watch the show.
Mm-hmm. And all the better for it. Was it a good decision to binge 2 seasons?
Yeah.
Back to back. So
as in it is pretty heavy. So expect nightmares and of murders and traumas, but.
Cool.
I prefer binge watching darker shows. Yeah.
Great. We're getting amazing insights. So definitely the first season is super bingeable. And I've gone on record to say multiple times, anytime somebody tries to binge a Netflix show that's in the 10 to 13 episode range, I always advocate for doing 3 sittings per season. So you break it up into 3 acts because every story, ideally, is made into a 3-act story. So like a 90-minute movie is in the 30 minutes, 30 to 60, 60 to 90.
Right.
That's your main flow. And when it comes to a 10 episode or 13 episode arc, at least what I do is I binge it in 3 to 4 hour sittings. And that way, at
Okay.
least, I don't lose my shit completely when I try to keep a track of what's happening, which was, I will admit, was a bit of a problem for me with this particular
Luke Cage.
season. No,
Okay.
with this season of
Okay.
Jessica Jones.
How long did you watch? What?
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? So I was really excited for Jessica Jones coming out. I'm a big fan of the first season. I loved the first season. So I was really excited for it. It came out, it's been like a month, maybe 6 weeks now since it came out.
Yeah.
And I forget what exactly was out when it released, but at
I
the
think
time,
March 8th or something.
yeah,
early
early March. There was some stuff going on, some other stuff that we had to watch at the time. I forget what now because it's just all a friggin' blur at this point. But yeah, I didn't rush to watch it because I was just too busy doing things. But I did. I watched the first episode. Now the thing about the Netflix Marvel shows is that apart from like maybe Daredevil and Punisher, Daredevil season 1 and Punisher season 1,
Okay.
they all are kind of known for being a little slow to start.
Okay.
And then they pick up and then it gets great. And then they've all pretty much consistently, Defenders included, have had a weak-ish third act.
Okay.
Like the final couple episodes have always been a little... like for instance in Luke Cage, I think unanimously everybody loved Cottonmouth, who was the main antagonist. And then I'm not going to get into any spoilers of anything else. But so
yeah, please don't. I'll
yeah,
get
yeah.
to those shows later.
Of course. So, that's a good example of just a show that starts really well and then the final couple episodes just funnel out and I was just thinking, well, meh. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is this show started arguably weaker than any of the other shows I've seen. This season
Okay.
started weaker than any of the other shows in any season I've seen, which really surprised me. Because how far did you get into Jessica Jones and into the Defenders?
One episode?
You just one episode in? Okay. Have they all met? Have they all teamed up yet? No, they haven't.
No,
teamed up yet.
I
Okay.
watched till that earthquake part.
Sure.
And
Okay.
there's yeah.
Well, okay, I don't want to get into spoilers of that either, but I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to tell you that the chemistry between them is great, and it's
Okay.
fun to see them all together because the banter and all that, blah blah blah. So that's cool. But this one, when it started off, I was really excited to see what's going to happen post Defenders. What's
Okay,
the
wait, I have a
fallout?
question. Do
Yes.
Jessica and Luke Cage hook up in Defenders?
Do they? They may. I'm trying to remember. I can't recall, which means if they did, it wasn't that big a deal.
Okay.
They might just like randomly because they were a thing in season 1.
Yeah.
So maybe
Okay.
it's a blur.
Okay.
It genuinely is a blur. That's kind of a problem with these shows. Like all the Marvel Netflix shows are shot so similarly. They're all in the same setting. A lot of the places like that Josie's Bar keeps coming up. A
Right.
lot of stuff happens in the exact same place. It looks exactly the same. So it literally just melds into one.
Okay.
Which brings me to the fact that there was no significant Defenders mention in this one. So I'll tell you that the moment where I got reinvigorated to keep powering through this, like I said, the first episode was cool-ish, but it was a bit of a snooze for me because something that we'll get into more towards the end of this episode is the cosmic perspective that the MCU is in right now. A really cool thing about Jessica Jones season 1 is this whole noir vibe, and it's a private eye, she's a detective, all that stuff is neat, it's cool, it's very unique to her. They're not really doing that too much with any other superhero, at least. But the Defenders just happened. Like you saw, there's a frigging earthquake that is induced in the Defenders, and far more insane nonsense happens.
Okay.
Iron Fist has literally like not dimensional, but like cross-planet warping where the guy just magically appears in Tibet and comes back, and things like that happen. Obviously, in the movies, you have Doctor Strange, now Thanos is around the corner. All these giant things are happening. And I was really taken aback by how insular this season was and how small it was to her own perspective and her own story and her own past and whatnot. So the first episode starts really kind of vague. You're not really sure what they're setting up.
Right.
Because I think like that, one of the coolest things about this season was the fact that there was no villain per se. There was, that I can't even say anti-hero of like the mom. Like the mom was literally on a murderous rampage at one point. But I mean, like, she is a mom, so it's like, hey, give her a second
Wow, you
chance.
directly dived into the end of it. Cool.
I know
Yeah.
I did. I get ahead of myself. I'm excited.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that like the first episode is vague,
Yeah.
and then 6 episodes later, you're like, oh, That's where we're getting to.
Yeah.
It took 6 episodes.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I feel the same way. I don't think it should have taken that long to
Yeah.
get in. And I feel introducing her mom should have happened a little earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So she could have had some more screen time.
Yep.
And they killed her off too soon.
They killed her off too soon.
As in, I don't think
They
she
killed her
should
off in
have,
the last episode, didn't they?
which is soon. They
Oh,
should
you mean they should have just kept her going?
Yeah,
right,
or
right,
at least for the first half of the next
Sure.
season.
Well, see, that's another thing. Again, just for perspective. The
Yeah.
fact that she was as strong as she was,
Yeah.
right? She could literally break Jessica Jones in half. Like, with just like one fist, she can crush her skull. She is like, now we don't really have a scale for these things, but it's just like nerdy fan fighting amongst ourselves, like who could beat up the other guy, like that age-old schoolyard thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, so we know that, like, for instance, Captain America is nothing but super strong. That's his thing. He's been injected with a serum and he's just really strong. Yeah, his heart and his will and all that, that's what makes the character beautiful. But when it comes down to the brass tacks of what is your superpower, his superpower is, I'm really strong. What is Jessica Jones' superpower? Really strong.
Yeah.
Cool. Who would win in a fight? Probably Captain America, just because he's a more important character, quote unquote. But when Jessica Jones' mom comes in, she can kick her ass 7 different ways. So are we saying that she is on the same level of abilities as the actual Avengers? You know what I mean? Like, how strong is she? So when she's introduced and she's made out to be such a threat, such an immense threat, a threat that Jessica didn't have in the first season. Kilgrave is not that kind of a villain.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of a villain. If they got into a fist fight, there's no question, right? So when they made her out to be so strong, I was really curious. Like, yeah, are they going to keep her around? If they keep her around, are we not going to address the fact that in your TV world of Marvel Universe, there's somebody that is clearly 10 times stronger than everybody else? That's kind of weird. So that was one thing that really had my head rushing the entire time of just like, where are we? Because the Defenders happened, and the Defenders can't be forgotten about. You can't just brush that away. But they haven't announced anything about a second season of the Defenders yet. And throughout the entire season of JJ, there was no mention of the fact that all that stuff went down. And I don't want to say too much about it, but the team up that happens, eventually it's basically just going to be, when you finish watching Defenders, you'll see that it's Luke Cage and Iron Fist, who in the comics are, they have their own brand. They're the Heroes for Hire. So they are known as a team-up duo.
Okay.
And then you have Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and they go about doing it's more like Jessica Jones has a full-time lawyer on her side when she has Matt Murdock with her, because JJ goes out to go do private investigation stuff in the middle of the Defenders plot, and Matt Murdock follows along, like, yeah, well, I mean, I'll make sure that you don't do anything too illegal, and I'll, save your ass if you need it.
Right.
So that was really cool to see. So we know that they have a connection. As you know, Luke Cage and JJ have a thing in the past. None of that comes up. And it's just like that. At this point, at this late in the game, when we're 10 movies in, Infinity War is right around the corner. You can't deny that happening. I mean, I talk about it all the time. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are literally in future. They're 70 years in the future and jumping between dimensions and like time travel and space and time and everything in between. So like, if everything else in the Marvel world is going big scale cosmic because Thanos is Thanos and that's happening, it was really pretty disconcerting for me that nothing was being referenced, which I thought was strange because all the other shows in Netflix so far have had some recognition, at least, of the fact that like bigger things are happening.
Yeah.
But I'm a street level hero, so I'm just going to deal with what I know, which is fine, which is totally fair. But it was just odd that didn't happen. Anyway, the one good thing I will say that I like, which I always enjoy seeing
About season 2?
about season 2, the one really nice thing is Foggy Nelson. Now, you haven't met this guy. Do you know any idea who I'm talking about? You've seen him in season 2. You did see him, but I don't think you know who he was because you haven't seen
Was
Daredevil.
he the cop who...
No. He was just a random cameo in episode 3, I think it was, right after Carrie Ann Moss, what's her name?
Jerry Hogarth.
Jerry. Right after she has a confrontation with her colleagues, with her peers, the ones that also own the company with her, and they give her a buyout and say, please leave, and she's like, no, I'm going to fight, and blah, blah, blah. Then she throws a tantrum, goes back to her office, and a little pudgy blonde man walks in and goes, hey, I can help you. And she just shoos him away and says, you're just a guy who I gave a helping hand to.
Okay.
He is Matt Murdock's BFF. And so he plays a big part in Daredevil. And I have said time and time again, I think he is the best thing that has happened to the entire Netflix Marvel world. I need more Foggy. I will deal with Foggy any day, every day. He's just like the greatest character because I just think like he's the most compelling of the lot. And you see him for like all of 2 seconds. Towards the end of the season, when Jerry gets a gun, that random like black dude that she meets below the bridge hands her a gun.
Oh yes,
he's BFFs with Luke Cage. So all the side characters keep coming back. If I'm not mistaken, I think this might be the first season of the entire Netflix world where Rosario Dawson's character hasn't showed up. Claire Temple. Have you met her in Defenders yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Do you know who Rosario Dawson is?
No.
You know what she looks like? Well, she'll make an impact when you see her because she always does. She's, again, introduced...
What character does she play on...
Claire Temple, who is a nurse, and she somehow... she's ended up being the most consistent character in the Netflix world, which is great to have because, like, as you've seen so far, they don't really acknowledge too much about the other series and the other seasons that are happening, right? They barely acknowledge the movies, let alone the other seasons, but Rosario Dawson's character has been consistent throughout everybody's shows. She was introduced in Daredevil Season 1. She was an integral part to Daredevil's plot, and then became very integral to Luke Cage, became very integral to Iron Fist, a big player, not too big a player in Defenders, but she is there. She was in JJ Season 1, and somehow, for whatever reason, she's not in Season 2, which is interesting because, again, I was fully expecting a very female-dominant cast, which we got. Because, I mean, this, if I'm not mistaken, I think every episode was directed by a female director, right? The feminism was turned up to 11, which was great. I thought it was dealt with very, very well.
Also, the fact that Jerry Hogarth's character is actually played in the comic version of Marvel, it's portrayed by a man. It's actually a man.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
but in the show, they've...
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't read the comics, but I read this somewhere.
Okay. Well, So, I mean, so to that end, I was just surprised that they didn't include arguably the most important female character that's in the Netflix verse.
Okay.
So there were just a lot of things about the season that were strange. Just very, very strange. Anywho, let us take a little break and I will then let you speak it because I can ramble for a while.
Every week comes a show where 3 people come together to tell you about stuff they like. A movie, a TV show, a book, and other stuff. Tune in every Monday on the IVM Podcast app to IVM Likes. Batman approves this message. Thank you, Batman.
Hello, and welcome back to the show. So, Jaanam, you have thoughts?
On season 2, yes.
Do tell.
So, comparing season 1 and 2, I definitely enjoyed 1 better. But 2 had its moments.
Mm-hmm.
A bit slow in the start, like we all agree. And I just feel like what happened towards the end of season 2 could have probably happened. Some of it should have happened a bit earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
And
pacing was definitely inconsistent.
Yeah, pacing is definitely an issue over here. I feel the show as a whole fixates a lot on Jessica's past.
Yeah.
So season 1 we see that, which is fine because like, you know, she's going back and forth and like she's we'd come to know that she's, you know, lost her family in an accident and then she's dealing with that and then Kilgrave is there.
Yeah.
Season 2, it goes even further. So Malcolm and Trish are like, you know, forcing her to get into the whole IGH, dig up what IGH is hiding.
Right.
And I feel there's too much fixation on the past of her life, which is a bit too much. I feel they could have done something else probably with this.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like, clearly just a PTSD thing.
Yeah,
right?
and there's like you mentioned earlier, there's no antagonist in this season.
Yeah, up until a point, and then that antagonist is not like a clear. Even though she is literally killing people and is a friggin' death machine, that's not why we care about her. We care about her because she's a mom, not specifically because she's just a random super villain that can kill people. Because she's not a villain. She's just in self-defense and she's just like, she's an experiment gone wrong. So just like control the monster and that's all she is. But it's more than a monster. It's the fact that she's a mom. Now I'm like, I have mixed, my motivations are conflicted. I don't know, should I kill the monster? Should I save my mom? What should I do? Blah, blah. So that was interesting. But yeah, like the thing about the family backstory, ironically enough, my favorite episode might have been the flashback episode.
The way we find out about her boyfriend and her mom kills him.
Yeah. That was really cool because I guess, one, I thought just in general, this entire season and the first season, the acting is phenomenal. The casting was great. I really liked the boyfriend, that guy, I forget his name, the bartender. I thought he was great. We knew he was going to probably kick it pretty soon. I was bummed it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
But then, has this ever happened to you? Like when you're binging a Netflix show, especially with these like one-off episodes where they do things like a flashback or like a deep dive into a very specific nuclear story, part of the story. By the time we got to the end of that episode, I had to just do a double take and look back like, wait, how long have I been with this particular story arc? It's like, holy crap, it's just one episode. Because that was really tight.
Yeah.
That was great. I thought you got a lot of bang for your buck in that one episode. Like there was a very great, clear, defined story arc in there where like every scene was essential, which I don't think was the case for this season for a lot of it.
The season, yeah.
Like I'll give you one big thing that I loved about season 1, Malcolm. I thought Malcolm was great. In this season, I thought he was kind of like sidestepped because he kept on playing the same card again and again and again. He's like, I'm going to be loyal to you.
Yeah.
You can fire me 1,000,000 times, but I'm going to be loyal to you.
He is sidestepped, but I feel he still bounces back. He still fights with Jessica.
Right, exactly. He does, which is great. He has tenacity and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But thing is, as far as like the plot is concerned, he sort of took Trish's spot in this season. He was the best friend that is tenacious and going to say, I'm best friends with a dick. JJ is a dick.
Yeah.
So I'm best friends with a dick, so I have to be tough sometimes and push back and say, no, I'm your friend. I'm going to freaking sleep on your couch and I will be here when you wake up and I will, And then Trish becomes the...
I think that was intentional because...
It was, yeah.
Because anyway, the whole Jessica and towards the end of the season, Jessica and Trish are not really on good terms. And obviously, like...
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, Trish was great in the role she played, but I just thought that, like... with the fact that the roles were reversed and she's sort of like another, not a villain, but like a problem child in the entire season.
Yeah.
That was cool. But really, Malcolm, as far as I was concerned, if I think back on what he did in the season, he did two things. One is he argued with JJ and just added more lines to every scene, which amounted to, for the most part, not very much. Like his role was mostly inconsequential, I thought. And the other thing was he has now cleaned up his act. He's not a homeless, not homeless, but he's not a heroin addict anymore. And he works out a lot and he takes his shirt off. I was like, that was the majority of what he did. He would argue with JJ and he would have like shirtless
Malcolm
scenes.
takes his shirt off?
A lot.
Yeah?
Wait, did you not notice this? Like,
Why are you noticing?
See, that's the thing. Speaking of like the female flip of the feminist perspective, I thought that was like doing service to that. I was like, wow, we're going to have a lot of really strong female characters in this. Like your protagonist is female, your antagonist is female, the problem child in the mix, the wild card is Trish.
Yeah.
So like, it's really strong in that regard. Your primary male character, Malcolm, I thought was sidestepped, and he's basically made out to just be like eye candy. I was just like, that's all he was.
When Luke Cage went shirtless, I remember that. But when Malcolm was shirtless, I don't know. I remember seeing Malcolm in like suit and all. Like he was suited up. And
right at the very end. Yeah. But
so
he literally had a scene right after he takes a hit of Trish's drug.
Yeah.
And he goes like, oh crap, I have to leave. And he walks away. The next time you see him is like an episode later. They skip a lot of time. A lot of time passes. I'm guessing he just like passed out and took care of himself. The next time you see the guy, he just had a horrible fight with Trish. Like they almost were at blows with each other.
Yeah.
And the next time you see him, cut to he's in his bedroom. He's working out, like lifting weights. And last time we saw him, he was really pissed off at Trish because Trish enabled an ex-addict and said, no, please have drugs. It's fine. Which was a horrible thing to do. And you would think that he'd be like really upset with her and say, I don't want to see you. But the next time you see them, he's working out, knock at the door, it's Trish. Oh, let's have steamy sex right now.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? Why? No, like she just put you back on drugs. You've been clean for so long. Why are you so okay with this? Oh, because you're the eye candy for this season. That's fine. So that's that again, like that was just a choice that I thought was like, you built a really great character in season 1. I liked you better more when you were the heroin addict. Because he was just more interesting. Because now I thought he was just like, he's around, he's just like the neighbor next door that's like, oh, JJ, what are you doing? You'll be fine. Don't cry in the
So
corner.
he was basically a bad character initially who turned good.
Yeah, and I liked him more as the bad character because like he just had
What do
more
you
to
think
say.
about Jerry Hogarth though? Like she is okay, let's talk about the subplot of
Sure.
Jerry Hogarth being diagnosed with ALS.
Sure.
How relevant do you think was that to the whole season? Like what were they doing with this?
I thought it was a little too much lawyer talk for my liking. I
Okay.
really like Carrie Ann Moss. I think she's amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
I can't not see her as Trinity, especially when she wears black.
Hmm.
But she's great in every scene she's in. But again, it's a problem that keeps occurring every now and again in every season of every show that she's in. It's always lawyer business and lawyering. It's a huge problem in Iron Fist, but you haven't seen that, so we won't get into that.
Yeah.
But in this one, I thought that like I liked the I'm dying and I have nothing left to lose angle was really cool. I was curious to
Really?
see where that would
I
go.
thought they were trying too hard to redeem her character because of what she did in season 1.
Remind me of what happened in season 1 because it was so long ago.
So the end of season 1, she lets David Tennant go, and she drives him, right? She drives him to her ex-wife's place,
Right.
and they have that whole fight where he's mind controlling them, and he gets Jerry to kill her.
Off the roof, right?
Not off the roof, in the house. They're like,
In the house?
so his wife is like going on cutting her, like he just tells her like cut her 1,000 times.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. Yeah, that was a big one. Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I just felt they were trying too hard to redeem her character with this whole ALS and like just trying
That's
to
a
add
fair
a lot
point.
of sympathy to her character.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah,
but now
which
the other thing is again contextually, we've seen her a lot since then. She's a big character in the larger Netflix world.
Also, she's like, if you see, she's actually legit broken bad in this season. Like she starts off with being whatever. She's not really evil as we see, but she's Inez, the nurse, cons her and gets this other guy involved. They steal her. They rob her place entirely, and then she just hands her the gun and forces her to, like, not forces, but like
That was
persuades her to kill that guy. Yeah.
It was very cool. It was a very sort of Heisenbergian. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
It's a very
Hence the
very
reference,
like very Heisenbergian kind of a move.
So
which
like
was
you're
cool.
terminally ill and you're like, okay, I need to do something bad.
Right. So I'm excited for her future now, for like where we've left her at this point in the world of Netflix. Seeing that she is now starting her own company, because eventually, again, I don't know if they'll do this, but in the comics, that character, Jerry's character, ends up being not the boss, but like I guess the lawyer representative for Heroes for Hire.
Okay.
For Iron Fist and Luke Cage when they do team up. So if Defenders 2 doesn't happen, I'm sure there will be some iteration of like some kind of team up, because that's what superheroes do. They eventually team up. So I'm excited to see how that continues. But I will say that like for Jerry's story, there was I'm dying, I have ALS, I need to be saved. What do I do about that? And so, she meets the healer potentially, and then that goes the way it does. I was in it. Whenever that was happening, I was like, oh, cool, you're dying and you've met the healing hero. We've never met a healing hero. That's really cool.
And I actually bought it because...
I bought it, yeah.
Yeah, because
that was great.
any person can technically have any... If you have mind controlling, you can
you
have...
can do friggin' anything. So that was cool. So that was great. But then every time that they were going into that whole... what was the guy's name? Her competitor who eventually joins her company at the end? Chan?
Price Chang.
Something like that. Yes,
Price.
that guy. That whole thing was a complete snooze for me. Because I just couldn't follow what was happening. Because the problem with lawyer talk, just in general, is if you miss one line, you've lost it. At least for me. Like if I don't have a grip on every single word that is being said, you've lost me completely. Which is again...
Have you had a lot of interactions with lawyers?
No.
No. Okay.
But I've watched a lot of shows with lawyers in them, and I get very confused. I don't know what's happening. Because they just use big words and try to confuse me. It was like, I'm sorry, like this doesn't interest me. Like the stakes, that's just my biggest thing I keep coming back to with this season. The stakes were just not high enough for me. Because you cannot deny where we are with all these characters. Every single one of these characters except for, what was her name? Her mom's name?
Whose mom's name?
Jessica's mom's name. Her name was something that was like Alias is a nod
Alison,
to her name.
wait,
Something like that.
Let's look
Whatever
her
her name is. The evil woman. Her mom and her doctor were the only two real new characters. Alyssa. Right. So Alyssa and the doctor, Carl, were the only two people that came into this show fresh. everybody else we've been living with for like years, right? And so this was just a little too insular for the wrong reasons. I just like the whole time was wondering about 50 other things that were not being addressed. And normally I would say like I'm not opposed to the idea of having a isolated story. That's totally fine. Like I mean, the Solo movie is coming out in a few weeks. Like I'm very excited for very insular things, but you have to know where you are in the larger scheme of things. Anywho, let's take a break and we're going to get more into it.
Tired of the shrill madness of primetime television?
Can't make sense of your morning newspaper anymore?
Then take a break to delve into some real conversations about policy, politics and economics.
Join me, Pavan Srinath,
And me, Hamsini Hariharan.
as we analyze news and views from India and the world and talk to experts on a wide range of issues on the Pragati podcast.
Episodes out every fortnight.
You can find us on the IBM Podcasts app or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
Hello, and we are back talking about JJ. This is JJ on JJ. Cool. So, you were saying?
Yeah. So there's a lot of like throughout the season we see a lot of characters manipulating each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's Trish clearly taking advantage of Malcolm, and just the fact that he's so nice to her and he's into her clearly. She's just using that. Then there's Jessica, who's always running to her neighbor / superintendent, who's like for forging IDs and stuff. She's always up like using him for that. And
that wasn't always. But yes.
But he does it quite often on the show. Yeah,
Yeah.
like at least 3 to 4 times. Like she does it either
Didn't
for
she
her
only do it
clients. She does it a couple of times for some of her clients, like some cases she's working on, and then she does it for herself
Herself at the
also.
end.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And then there is Inez, the nurse, taking advantage of Jerry.
Right. And there's even, come to think of it, it's Trisha's whole life under her mom. Her mom essentially living vicariously through Trish, and like,
yes.
that was like her own thing. Like she didn't
Yeah.
really care about Trish, just cares about
Yeah.
I am the mother of famous person, so I am now important.
Yeah,
basically.
I agree. Yeah.
No, so I think it's that's a good point because that's pretty much what the Purple Man and JJ relationship is, right? The taking advantage of. In that specific case, we're talking rape and all that. But I mean, even after the fact, PTSD of just like, you're still in my head because you got so into my skin that I can't stop thinking about what your opinion would be.
I like the fact that somehow, like, it's still not clear, but somehow Jessica's rid herself of his control. She's no longer under his influence, but he's still lingering in the season. It was good to see David Tennant in the season.
Of course, it always is.
Yeah.
We knew that's another interesting, right? We knew that he was going to be in it. They made that publicly known like a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing that's just hanging over everybody's head. And I'm sure they knew about that. I mean, of course, they know that when you're watching this show, and like I think David Tennant was like third.
But they didn't mention in what context he would be back.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So that's
it could be flashbacks.
They gave him like the third titling in a lot of publications about the cast listing and whatnot. So so if he's like third, if he's the third rung, it's like that's a big role. Obviously, you're not going to put David Tennant down low because he is who he is. But like the fact that they delayed him so much, I mean, that's just the same problem we spoke about just a little bit ago. Just like took way too long to get there.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of inevitable, right? With how he was going to be used. Like, were you surprised? Did you like how they used him?
Yeah.
As just like a thing? Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, if they've announced that he's going to be there, people could think maybe it's flashbacks, maybe Jessica's just...
I had my fingers crossed, but I knew it was very unlikely that it was going to be sort of a, like how, what's his name? In Sherlock, Moriarty. Sort of the villain that never dies.
Yeah.
You know, have you seen all of Sherlock, by the way?
I've seen till
the
season
BBC?
3,
Oh,
which is
So
the later season? 4.
Yes.
I think 4, yeah.
Yes.
I've watched till 3. I've watched till the part where Jim Moriarty is on the... You know that scene where he's on the radio and he's like...
Did you miss me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you haven't seen what happens after that?
No.
Okay, then thank God, because now I'm going to stop talking. Yeah, because my point was all about season 4.
Okay.
Anyway, but so manipulation is the big thing, and like that it's really cool subject matter. Like throughout this entire season, I was very impressed that they were able to get a pretty solid show. Like my overall opinion is that I liked this season, but I was disappointed in how it was handled, because it was like they hit on really great themes. They hit on really good topics to talk about and really good topics to explore. And with speaking of manipulation, since the entire thing was just about how I being JJ deals with just everything that's happened in the past and how do I move on from that.
Yeah.
It was really cool areas to hit on, and Kilgrave was a great addition. Everybody's happy to see him, but it was just, I think it should have been like 7 episodes instead of 13.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the first 4 the first 4 to 5 episodes were very forgettable. I honestly can't tell you a damn thing that happened in the first 4 because
I vaguely remember like the Wizard guy who's
sure. Yeah. So like that was cool. It was a good MacGuffin for like 1 episode. Yeah. But then that went on for like 3. And then you meet the friggin' what's his face from the first season, the cop who dies in the beginning, the guy with the drug.
Will.
Was that his name?
Will something.
That's the thing. Who's so forgettable.
Who the Trish Walker?
Yeah, the guy who the one who Trish took her drugs from.
Yeah.
All that happens for like way too long in the first couple episodes. And when you meet the mom before you know she's her mom, it's cool. Like, oh, cool. There's some random powered person, but I don't have a reason to care about random powered person until it was mom, which is only like episode 7. I was like, I've just wasted 7 hours to get to the point where I give a damn. So this actually, ironically, now that I think about it, I guess has sort of flipped everything that has been consistently flawed with Netflix MCU so far, which is, like I said, the final act of all the previous shows were pretty weak. And this is the only one where I'd say like Act 2 and 3 were great and Act 1 was very, Because, you know, it's ironic, now that I think about it as well, that a lot of the reviews online that you would see of things like IGN and Nerdist and whatnot, where they talk about these shows almost immediately, they haven't really done a deep dive into the second season of JJ. They've done a deep dive into the second season of Daredevil. They've done a deep dive into every other show on Netflix from Marvel. But like they've only talked about the first episode reaction, and they've done like quick 5-minuters on like, so just in general, the villain was cool, or just in general, I thought that the show could have been shorter. That seems to be like everybody's unanimous opinion on this thing. It was like, well done, guys, but man, that dragged. That was like unnecessarily long. That's just, that's me and a couple of people. But so overall, would you, are you going to stick with it? You think, forget JJ. In general, are you going to now go back and look up Daredevil and Luke Cage and Iron Fist and all that? Are you in it?
Totally.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you seen all the MCU, all the movies?
Most of them.
Yeah, which ones haven't you seen? We've talked about this before. How many are you missing?
Yeah, I have watched Age of Ultron.
Oh God, yes. I remember this is how that question was answered.
Yeah.
It's not a good answer to the question. Oh my God.
Yeah, so
when
I
you're
basically
starting with Age of Ultron and there are literally 15 movies.
Yes, I haven't watched the older ones.
So you haven't seen Avengers 1?
Which was that again?
Avengers. It's just called Avengers, where they meet up for the first time and it's the Avengers.
There
is no age of anything. It's the age of beginning. It's the age of birth. You have not seen it.
I don't remember watching
The Battle for New York.
I might have.
Loki. No, you haven't seen it. Okay. Yeah. There will be no question in your head.
Loki,
yeah, of course remember. Loki's in every movie. Loki's Loki's in I think like 6 or 7 Marvel movies at this point.
Okay.
But okay. So you need to do some homework because Infinity War is coming out.
31-hour marathon,
Yes. So Avengers Infinity War is coming out in just a few weeks. You have literally 17 days from the time of this recording. You have some
homework to do.
You got a long night ahead of you. Okay, cool. Anywho, so that's the show for this week, guys. Please let us know if you saw Jessica Jones Season 2 and or 1 and or Defenders or any of the other above mentioned shows. And let us know what you thought. Like I said, I'm a little indifferent. Jaanam, I think you liked it significantly more than I did. But then again, you have not been jaded by
the other shows, yeah. I heard Daredevil is excellent.
They're all excellent.
Yeah, but no, specifically Daredevil, people have praised that one a lot.
I think Punisher is the best of them all. But it's more unique than Jessica Jones, I think.
Okay.
I won't say anything more. You should just watch it.
That's and what about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
How much time do you have? I can. Don't tempt me, woman. I will. The other two aren't here today, so I'm off the hook.
But how good or bad is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. compared to the rest of these shows?
Oh God, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is nowhere close compared to these shows. But it's No, I'm not going to get into it. We don't have time for that. I was signing off. I'm going to keep doing that. Thanks for listening, guys. Write into us at contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. Log onto our website, geekfruit.in, and hit the contact button if you prefer to do that. You can find us on the social medias at GeekFruitHQ. You can reach me at Twitter at Jishnu Guha. Jaanam, where can they find you?
At Jaanam Diwan.
What she said. That's us. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening, and bye-bye.
He bends down to test the warm water for his bath. He comes here to quench his thirst for a hot shower and some podcasts. You can witness how he enjoys having other people talk about cool stuff in his bathroom. Indeed, it helps him with his loneliness. You can find more of his species on ivmpodcast.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.